Liverpool versus Real Madrid. It is a fixture which summarises a lot of Liverpool's 21st century angst, and it feels like somewhat of a cursed fixture for Liverpool in recent years. With this new era, with things, feeling a little fresher, the tactics feeling different, I guess there is a feeling of hope around Liverpool that what Klopp couldn't do, maybe his successor and some of his legacy can achieve. And especially against this Real Madrid team that so far this season have struggled to find the same identity that they've had in previous seasons. Not that they haven't still looked impressive in certain moments, not that they haven't got a team absolutely plastered with superstars, and not that they didn't spend or influence a whole load of money over the summer. I've gotten here, obviously that's the Real Madrid badge. It is a good badge, essentially. It's just, let's at some point just have a conversation around winning the early Champions Leagues and whether those are actually valid. So, apart from that though, let's look at these fixtures, right? Liverpool really have struggled since that 4-0 win in 2009 that Rafa Benitez triumphantly pulled off at Anfield. Quite a successful night for us. Before that, of course, Rafa had also beaten them 1-0 away from home. It was a good era for Liverpool. It was an era where Liverpool were very strong. We had probably maybe the second best midfield in Europe behind Barcelona. We had Xabi Alonso, we had Mascherano, we had Gerrard. It was an all-star lineup, including Momo Sissoko. And of course, then there were 5 years where nothing happened between the two teams. But suddenly, Liverpool enter this inexorable issue against Madrid. Something that feels mental and affected the physical. Obviously, in the Rodgers era, it wasn't so good. And when I say wasn't so good, I remember those games, and I remember thinking, boy, we've got a pretty good team here. But never thinking, we're going to win against Real Madrid. We lost 3-0 away from home. We lost 1-0 at home. It was a pretty miserable couple of weeks there for me. It's just also in general at that time, people realised we're just not at that same level. Sure, we can have like these fun little runs. Liverpool were closer to being like an Aston Villa or Leicester type league winner than a consistent title challenger. But things were just beginning to change then. And since then, the levelling of the playing field has happened in the Premier League and in the Champions League for Liverpool. Of course, we've won another Champions League since the Rafa Benitez winning of the Champions League. We were very much a force in Europe back in the Rafa Benitez days. He was very much a strong cup manager and also someone who understood European football in a really good way. I'm hoping that is similar here with Arne Slot. Obviously, after so much success under Jurgen, I'm going to say so much success, sure we won a European Cup, but also we got to a couple of finals in that time and serially lost to Real Madrid. Obviously, you have the 1-0 loss where we didn't capitulate, but I just don't think we turned up in the way we needed to on that day. And then you also have the other final loss down here in 2018 when we lost 3-1. And I think that felt like a bit of a turning point in Liverpool's history. And so us and them, because we represent such different things, because we feel like our club identity is so different to theirs, we have a rivalry. And it is a rivalry. I know Real Madrid fans are going to go, we don't think of you as, it's going to be that lift scene in Mad Men where he goes, I don't think of you at all. That's funny because you talk about us an awful lot. Recent form, it's patchy in Europe for Real Madrid. It's also patchy in La Liga for Real Madrid. They've had some absolute shellackings from the likes of AC Milan and Barcelona, here and here. Back to back, actually, which, kind of feels fitting for them. Like it's a very Carlo Ancelotti thing. It's like, oh, that goes wrong. And then he works it out and wins 3-0 against Leganés on the weekend. I don't know what this exact fixture was. Before that, they'd beaten Villarreal. They'd had a pretty good run there of 3 games with 3 wins. And they've also got this Atletico draw, and then that's the Lille. It hadn't gone well in the Champions League form. I remember watching this game and thinking, this team don't look cohesive. But then I watch this game down here and I think, things are beginning to come together. But this is the real question in this game. This guy's not playing in it. This was the team on the weekend. A 4-4-2 of sorts. They were actually more like a 4-2-4. They were actually more like a 4-3-3. Real Madrid, Vinicius is a real weapon for them. He sent through Kylian Mbappe on the weekend. There were multiple balls from this area into, my mouse is over here, and it looked like things were cooking. It also looked, by the way, like they were playing on 0.5 times speed at times. And I've got to admit, like, a lot of these games feel like warm-up games for Real Madrid in terms of just the challenge, in terms of the physical exhaustion or the physical input that they need to have in order to actually get through the game. They actually have, and I think, let's not understate it, they still have an all-star squad. And as much as people might say, well, is Camavinga the first choice in the long run for them? Arda Güler is certainly one of the first choices. This guy is. Is Dani Ceballos really a star? Obviously, Valverde, is he meant to play there? Are all these guys at centre-back the right guys? Is Fran Garcia the guy for us back there? We want Trent at right back. You guys have an all-star team. They really play their chances down. This is where they sit currently in the La Liga, as they call it over there. But so I look back and I was looking, this is a very different side here in the sense that they may end up playing some of these other stars. I watched that last game between us and them. Let me go back to these. The one where we got, wasn't the last game, but the last game in 2023, that first fixture, the two fixtures back to back. On the night, under Klopp, we went 2-0 up against Real Madrid, and they still came back and won 5-2, and then we just got absolutely just shut out at Santiago Bernabeu. That was a very Klopp-esque loss in that. It was so extreme, it felt so insignificant. We were a bad team at that point. We weren't a particularly cohesive side. There were shoots of hope in there, but it never really went anywhere. It feels like the opposite way around now, where there's a cohesion to what is going on at Liverpool, but we're not quite sure where we're at. And they're trying to find their identity. And I wonder if we can pick at that a little bit. Obviously, these headlines that have come out from Salah, another video on that later in the day, don't help us. I don't necessarily, and I think a lot of people kind of think this comes as a surprise. I don't necessarily think they hinder us either. I think a lot of players in the dressing room, every player in the dressing room will already have known what Real Madrid was going to bring, what Man City were going to bring, and they're going to know the way that Mo Salah feels about his club and feels about his contract issues. No one in the dressing room went, no way, contract issues, huh? That's not how it works. And the players all talk. How that gets resolved, I'll talk about in the other video. I think Real Madrid are going to try and out-technical us in the midfield. They're going to try and make us lock down in midfield. They're going to try and stop us from playing the game we want to play. They're going to put Jude and whoever else sits alongside him in a kind of, we're going to press those two guys, make sure Liverpool can't play out, and we're going to make it really awkward. I think Diaz starts, I think Salah starts, and I think through the middle we probably do see Nunez. It's a sad thing that we don't have Diogo Jota there. I think Jota would have been a real tool in this game for us. And I think later Hakpo comes on, and then we might push Diaz into the middle and have that rotating factor there. It's a shame we just don't have one or two other factors in there, I'm saying Harvey Elliott, but shame we don't have someone else in there who can switch things up. Then it's the real midfield area where I'm like, who do we have? I think we play the energy in the midfield of McAllister, and then obviously Grav, and then obviously in front of that, I think we put Szoboszlai. I think Szoboszlai is going to be one of those players who brings the energy, harries them, has the distribution. But I wonder, is there a role in this game for Curtis Jones? Is there just something in here for him to do a job on a Jude Bellingham? You remember the difficult technical midfield we came up against for the Chelsea game. Enzo, Caicedo, the Lavia types. There are lots of technical profiles in there who should have done more against Liverpool. But then the attacking profiles that we shut down in that game, such as Cole Palmer, who didn't really have that much joy against us. What do we do with those guys? And then I'm not comparing in any way the front line of Chelsea, but there is a similarity here between what Chelsea are trying to achieve this season and what Real Madrid are trying to achieve. Just very different profiles of player in terms of the actual profile with which they have in the game rather than the actual profile of the player itself. If they end up playing like an Mbappe, we're going to need Konate and Van Dijk on their very best. But we're also going to need either, because of the fitness issues of Trent, I think we're going to end up seeing Conor Bradley. And I think we're going to end up seeing Tsimikas instead of Robbo. But I'll be interested to know your thoughts on that. Then up front, I've already named that front line. And I think we may have, for consistency's sake, although I've got to admit, if you're going to play Madrid, you want the big names. But I think we may end up putting Kelleher in goal just because of fitness issues for Alisson. And I think it's going to be a bit of a rush. We don't want on the night that there is another injury. We've seen that with Alisson before, where he's exacerbated something or it's gotten worse. You want to have those subs. You want to be able to rotate those other players on, and you want to be able to, if you're ahead, exhaust Real Madrid, and if you are behind, catch up to Real Madrid. The Mbappe thing worries me. I haven't really spoken about the high-profile players. Jude, I think, will end up playing in that false nine position. He certainly has begun to pick things apart again on the weekend. That header, though again, playing Liverpool and playing Leganes, two very different challenges. The outcome may be the same, but like the two very different challenges. I think I'm talking Liverpool down a little bit too much here. But these tricky, I'm going to score a wonder goal type figures, I guess I'm scarred by some of these games mentally, in the sense that, not that it particularly sits with me, but like, what happens if they do this? How does that impact Liverpool's season? How does that impact us going into the City game? But then what happens if they do this? Either way, they get points. But what happens if we are now that team? What happens if we're the team who are, like, you know, we were strong against Arsenal. We were strong against Chelsea. We dominated a lot of those games. Dominated huge parts of those games, or clawed our way back into them, or leveled them in different ways. He is this kind of tactical, observational manager who's different, like in the sense that I think Arne is more like he's not Pep Lingers. He's not this kind of like, I'm going to do this one smart thing and we'll see if it works. He plays his team with a jab and then calculates when the right hook comes in. Is that a hook? That's a hook. That's an uppercut. That's a hook. And he's working out, do I use the hook? Do I use the uppercut? Do I use the super punch? I'm pretty sure do I use the double punch? I've never seen that before in boxing. Has anyone ever done a double punch? Probably. Anyway, I think he will be calculating Madrid, and he'll want to play Liverpool's game rather than play Madrid's game. And actually, I think Madrid will be very happy for them to do that, because I think they're going to try and counter-attack us on the night. I think they're going to try and come and steal something because of where they are in the Champions League at this point. Madrid just need to get back on track. And I think, here's the thing. If it is the last dance for Salah, if it is his last season, which I really hope it isn't, and again, video on that later in the day, then I think it would be amazing to see the redemption arc for Salah. It's sad he didn't get to do it under Klopp, but it would be great to see that redemption arc for Salah under a new manager, doing something vengeful. Please, I'm begging you, Salah, do not say anything before the game. Don't say anything like, we're coming for revenge, blah, blah, blah. Just do it. And that, I think, is a big part of this new slot era. Is there the opportunity, where is the opportunity here to take something back for Liverpool? There is the opportunity here to dominate a team that we vehemently dislike. Like, I vehemently, in a sporting manner, dislike Real Madrid. I respect them. What do I need to say here? I respect the institute that they've built. I don't like a lot of what that represents. And I think it's unusual that we can't say that in football and still go and like trade some cultural things. I don't like the way that they treat teams like us. And I certainly didn't enjoy the Champions League last year, where it felt very sing when you're winning inside Wembley. Just saying. It's going to be some atmosphere there in Anfield. I am going to be there. I'm going to be there. Be in Anfield. I'm going to be in the main stand. If you see me, don't bottle me. Say hi. So one guy left a comment yesterday. If you want to go for a drink, let me know. I'd love to go for a drink. Comment again and let me know. I'll be in Liverpool. If you want to go for a drink, just message me on Instagram. I'll be there. We'll go, we'll have a little something, have a half somewhere. Do people still do halves? Or is that like a dad's generation thing? Do people still do halves?
I do halves.
Do you halves? Yeah. You do halves, though. You do halves. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below. How do you think it's going to go? There is a silent optimism amongst the Liverpool fans at the moment, not just about Madrid, but just in general. And I want to see us capitalise on that. I want to see us grab this with both hands. Video on the Salah reaction later today. The Salah saga, if you will. And anyone who's commented on the lack of a beard, go screw yourself. I have to shave at some point. I like kissing my wife, which is probably the straightest thing I'm going to say today. I'll see you guys later. Much love. Bye.